Hi, I'm Malcolm McKee, District Commissioner at Leatherhead District Scouts, and I'm back with some more ideas for scouting you can do at home. In the Scout Pioneering Activity Badge, it says you need to extract or move heavy objects using levers, and one of the best ways I know of doing that is called the Kochanski flip-flop windlass. So the first question you'll be asking is, what's a Kochanski? And the question isn't really what, it's who. Kochanski was a Canadian wilderness instructor and outdoors educator, and sadly he died last year. But in his long career in teaching wilderness in the outdoors in Canada, he only produced one real book, and it was this one, Bushcraft. Now before this point, bushcraft had been something that was talked about in Australia. The Australian wilderness is the bush, or the outback, and living comfortably in the bush was known as bushcraft. Well, Moores took this idea of living comfortably in the wilderness, and he wrote the book called Northern Bushcraft, and it was reprinted a year later, just called Bushcraft, and this was in 1987. So he was very much a forerunner of people like Ray Mears, who wrote this book, Essential Bushcraft, in 2002. Until that point in the UK, the majority of our thinking in bushcraft and outdoors was actually things like this, the SAS Survival Guide by Lofty Wiseman. And this was really from a military perspective. So a lot of the thinking in here was about what happens if you have to get away quickly because the enemy's just round the corner. Whereas the study of bushcraft is about survival, yes, but it's also about long-term existence in the woods, how you make a comfortable life for yourself. Now, I met Kochanski in 2009, and what struck me about him was how innovative he was. He didn't just take skills from the past and retread them. He added his own spin to them. He trusted in science. He used modern materials, and he thought about things in a different way. And he never really wrote another populist book. This was a bestseller in Canada. But what he did do was write a series of pamphlets, and I've got them here. And these are pretty rare in the UK. I'm not sure many people have got these. And some of them are not particularly relevant to the UK environment. So when you meet a black bear, for example, you might not think it's particularly relevant, or the Inuit snow house. Survival kit ideas, well, there's stuff in there for everyone. And the tools of survival and survival training. But it's this one, the top 7 bush knots and the use of the windlass, that caught my imagination. So in it he describes a way of using levers to move really heavy objects, but the diagrams in here aren't particularly clear, so it was really brilliant to get this learning firsthand from Moores. Of course the windlass is something that's actually done a full size, but it's a brilliant idea to learn this with a scale model at home, so that you've got the thinking when you go out into the woods later. The classic use of the windlass is to pull something like a vehicle out of a muddy field, or to move a tree out of a track. And this is incredibly powerful because it uses long levers on a long rope. So the way I've set this up on my desk here is I've got an anchor point for a tree here, and I've got a car stuck in the mud over here. And I'm going to do the windlass just in the middle here. So let me show you how to set this up. Firstly, you need 2 levers, and in real life these are going to be about 2 meters long and about 10 centimeters thick. And the first of these, you lie over the rope. The second, you pass under the rope and over the other lever. And then in your first move, you pull the lever tight, like that. Okay, so you can see the forces generated by winding the rope around this lever and using this lever to pull it. So the reason it's called the flip-flop windlass is because at this point you reverse the levers. If I just turn this all the way over, you'll see that. I then use the same lever to wind it on again. And you see how much leverage I'm getting with that. You can see the car slowly starting to pull. Again, when you get to that point, you reverse by flipping over. And you see once again, I use this lever and I pull that through. Now you might be wondering how much leverage you get from this. Well, if you've got an A level of physics, you'll know that it's the ratio of the radius of this lever and the length of this lever, and it's about 40 times. So if you'd imagine, as I move this lever, if I put about the same force in it that I used to lift a 25 litre water barrel, for example, then multiply that up by 40 times, it's about the same force as I get to lift a ton of weight. And it's pretty easy for one human to exert the same force as to lift a 25 litre water barrel. You can see slowly, just as I flip this over and turn this, it's hauling the car out. And this is pretty effective. I've seen this technique used for moving a car with its handbrake on, or moving really big logs in the forest. I hope you enjoyed that introduction to the Kochanski flip-flop windlass. It's something you can really practice at home, just in a scale model. If you get yourself a couple of bits of stick or pencils, and a toy car, a bit of string, you can get it in your mind so that when you need it in real life, the knowledge is there and you can do it at real scale. So until next time, thanks for joining us, stay safe and carry on scouting.